All right, welcome everyone to the 1 Point Safety Podcast. I am your host, Mark Sherrick, alongside my co-host, Adam Walters, and today we are going to be talking about a variety of sports. Again, my name is Mark Sherrick. My biases are the Los Angeles Rams and the Michigan Wolverines go blue. You know, the reason why I like sports is because I like the camaraderie that it brings with, friends and family and coming together to be, a lot of our friends are Michigan football fans and, bringing everyone together to enjoy the sport, watch it. It gives, people something to do. But I also like it because, I'm a Rams fan and I have Lions fans. And as Adam's going to mention, he's a Raiders fan. And it also brings a level of rivalry between everyone. So that's also a lot of fun. So,
yeah, I'm Adam. As Mark said, I'm a diehard Raiders fan. Used to be a Lions fan until about 4 years ago when they finally destroyed my heart too many times. And
I hear that.
I just said, screw it. I'm jumping ship over to the Raiders. They're kind of, I don't even know what they're doing right now. They're talking about maybe getting Tom Brady and replacing Derek Carr. But other than that, I'm biased towards Michigan Wolverines like Mark. I think Jim Harbaugh's got them going in a good direction. Obviously you want them to beat Ohio State all the time, but nobody's like Ohio State. They're just like out of this world right now. But
as much as we both hate to admit that,
yeah, I think they're going to be catching up with them though. So
good. All right, well, let's just jump right into it. So you may not know this, Adam, but there's a kind of a big game coming up on Sunday.
I think I heard a little bit about that.
Yeah, some tennis match, I thought. Oh, no, Super Bowl.
Australian Open. Yeah.
The Australian Open, yes. All right, so it's the Super Bowl, right? And I love during the Super Bowl when you get two teams like what we have going on. We have one of the best, most high-powered offenses in the Chiefs versus one of the best defenses in the league with the Niners. And I'm not sure exactly, but it seems like the defense typically are the ones that win in those matchups. But
yeah, I mean, when you look at Super Bowl, what was that, Super Bowl 50 with Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks, you had Peyton Manning throwing for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, but then you had the Legion of Boom where they just dominated Peyton Manning, like right from the get-go, getting that safety, and then they just never even looked back. So.
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up Peyton Manning with the Broncos is when he was kind of at the end of his career, and he was playing very, very poorly, but that defense for Denver was so good with Von Miller, who was the Super Bowl MVP that year. That defense held them in there, and they ended up blowing out Carolina. So those are two good examples of the Niners having a good defense and why they should feel optimistic. But I just don't know. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you could ever bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that offense is just simply amazing. They were down 24-0, Houston, and I was watching that game, and I'm like, oh my God, this game's going to be a blowout. And it was a blowout. The other way around, Kansas City ended up scoring 51 of the last 58 points of the game.
Right.
And they routed Houston.
And the Chiefs were down against their next opponent by 10 against Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? Patrick Mahomes does Patrick Mahomes things, and they end up coming out and blowing them out.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, if you look at the comparison in the regular season between these two teams. Everyone thinks the Chiefs are high scoring because they are high scoring, but they're this high scoring, score at will team, and the Niners are smother you with their defense. But if you look at the regular season, the Niners have a lot more in their column. They've actually scored more offensive points per game, have more offensive yards per game, have more offensive rushing per game. I mean, they've allowed the least defensive passing, second least yards allowed. I mean, this defense is good, but they also can score 29.9 points compared to the Chiefs' 28.2 points.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I was looking at it, San Francisco actually had somewhat of a little bit better of an offense during the regular season than Kansas City did.
True.
But you also had Patrick Mahomes being out for 2.5, almost 3 games.
Right.
But
And the QB comparison, I think it's really the difference here. In the regular season, Patrick Mahomes, like you said, was out 2.5 games, but they almost had the exact same season. Jimmy Garoppolo threw 27 touchdowns, Patrick Mahomes threw 26. Jimmy had almost 4,000 yards. Patrick Mahomes had 4,031 yards. I mean, they were really close, but Patrick Mahomes didn't play 2.5 games.
right.
But in the playoffs, that's when I think the real change in between them shows. Patrick Mahomes, 8 touchdowns. Jimmy Garoppolo, 1 touchdown. Jimmy Garoppolo last week threw 8 passes. Patrick Mahomes, in all of his playoff games, has thrown 20-plus passes in the first half.
Right. Well, and San Francisco's not really needing to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo at all. They've been pounding it on the ground with Morstead. He had what did he have? 4 touchdowns against Green Bay last week.
Yeah, he was. I think it was the second best playoff game for a running back, only to Eric Dickerson, who, as we know, has the all-time leading rushing in a season. So that's pretty good company to be behind.
Right. You're running the ball, and then your defense is stopping people. Like, San Francisco's got the second best defense in the league. Only allowing 281 yards a game, and number 1 passing defense only allowing 169 yards. So it'd be an interesting matchup to see if they can, maybe get to Patrick Mahomes so he's not thrown for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Right. And the Chiefs, I mean, their defense has been playing well as of late, but in the regular season, 349 yards allowed a game. That's 17th. That's middle of the road.
Yeah, that's not going to win you. That's not going to win you games in this league. The 49ers have probably the best, front 4 any team in the league. You got Dee Ford, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, and that rookie, Nick Bosa. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, he plays for some school that we don't talk about.
Yeah. That's a different topic. But,
yeah.
But the 49ers, in the 2 games that they had, in the second half against the Vikings, allowed 0 points. And then they followed that up in the first half against the Packers, not allowing a single point.
Right.
So, I mean...
And it's funny, with everything being said, I mean, on paper, it's like, oh yeah, it's the Niners. The Niners have all of the stats and everything, but they don't have Patrick Mahomes. And that guy is special. And I will be saying that until the day I die.
Right. He's just got an incredible arm. He can just, without hesitation, just throw up a 50-yard bomb and boom, right there to Tyreek Hill.
Right. So, and speaking of Patrick Mahomes, I hear he signed a contract.
Yeah. He hasn't signed yet, but so there's been talks of after the season, Patrick Mahomes is going to be up for a contract extension, and according to Adam Schefter of ESPN, he's saying that he could be the first player in NFL history to sign a $200 million contract.
Wow.
And from what I'm looking at, it's going to be in the range of $40 million a year. And it got me wondering, is he really worth the $40 million a year? And, it's going to take a look and see who else has signed big contracts lately, as far as quarterbacks, and, see how that panned out for him. Here's the top 5 quarterbacks per salary. Russell Wilson, number 1, $35 million.
Worth it.
Yeah, I'd agree 100%. Ben Roethlisberger, $34 million. I mean, he's getting up there in age.
Yeah, he's on the tail end of his career.
This is probably just his last big contract, before he retires, probably within the next 2-3 years. Number 3, Aaron Rodgers, $33.5 million.
Worth it.
Yeah. He's probably going to be, I don't know if maybe like a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he'll definitely be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done for him.
Right. The best thing that happened to Green Bay was them firing McCarthy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think McCarthy didn't really even want him to begin with when he was coach on the 49ers, and there was a little bit of animosity there.
Yeah.
So it finally came to a head where it just wasn't going to work. And I think Matt LaFleur, time will tell us see if he's going to be a good head coach, but I think he did a pretty darn good job this year, getting the Packers to get into the playoffs and getting them that first round bye. So
yeah, heck yeah. For first year head coach, I don't know how, other than winning a Super Bowl, you have to be just thrilled with the results.
Absolutely. Number 4, this one made me question a little bit. Jared Goff, also $33.5 million.
Go Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're biased towards the Rams, but do you think that he's really worth the $33.5 million?
I might root for the Rams, but I'm also a realist, and I think when they signed him, he just made it to a Super Bowl, and he had a lot of upside. But this year, talk about a regression, not sophomore slump, but a really bad regression of he just wasn't making the throws. There was not good timing, no good rhythm. When they made that awesome playoff run and into the Super Bowl where they inevitably lost, he was making clutch throws. If it was 3rd and 10, he would throw it 11 yards spot on every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem with the Rams this year where they didn't get Todd Gurley going.
No,
it's they were like saving him for the playoffs and then didn't realize that, hey, we might not make the playoffs, and they didn't.
Right. At that time it was too late. It's like, oh, okay, because I think they were starting to pound him at the end of the year and everything, but at that point they were already 2 games out, and
it doesn't help that they are in the hardest division in football in my belief with NFC West. You only have the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Rams. So
and Arizona's
we have Kyler Murray.
They're getting there. I didn't know if I would like the Kyler Murray draft pick, but he's actually doing pretty well for Arizona. So, but and then rounding out the top 5, we got Carson Wentz, $32 million a year.
No,
I don't think so either. Like, he's been injury prone and everything, and in the playoffs when he got the concussion or whatever, that's kind of like a fluke injury or whatever. That's not like, I tore my ACL again, or ruptured my Achilles or my back. Matt Stafford's prime example. He's got back problems right now.
Sure. That
he's trying to overcome and everything. When they started doing all these big contracts for quarterbacks, they're like, oh well, he got us to Carson Wentz. He took him to the playoffs, and if he wouldn't have got hurt, he probably would have led him to the Super Bowl. But all these contracts are just getting out of control here. Like, Jared Goff is top 5, for contracts, but
yeah, I think the Rams should have waited a little bit and let's
give
see
him
what
another
this...
year before you really do that. But and then you got to be thinking Dallas. What are they going to do with Dak Prescott, because he's up for a contract extension? And do you think he's going to be worth like $35 million a year? Because I don't
think he's worth it, but I think he'll get paid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then I was surprised that Kirk Cousins wasn't on here, but he had at the time he had one of the highest guarantee contracts at $84 million a year. So
totally guaranteed, which is absolutely insane.
I don't think he's worth $84 million guaranteed, but
not
apparently Minnesota does. So
that's one way to keep your quarterback, is to pay him a lot of money, but there's also trading to get quarterbacks. So do you think the Patriots regret this Jimmy G trade?
I think Bill Belichick does.
Yeah.
They traded Jimmy back in 2017 to the Niners, and they ended up sticking with Brady, which it turned out really well for them. I mean, they won a Super Bowl last year against the Rams, but you got to think, long term. Like, yeah, we won a Super Bowl here, but we just traded away a pretty big piece in Jimmy Garoppolo that could be, a nice transition to maybe win another 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah, and what the Patriots got for Jimmy G was a 2nd-round pick, which we could tear down that whole pick because they traded that, and then they got these guys and those guys, and so it started off as just a 2nd-round pick, but it morphed into what the Patriots do.
Right.
Right. But still, a 2nd-round pick. Just imagine if you went Tom Brady, Jimmy G would have had 2 more years behind Tom Brady. Brady retires, Jimmy G's the quarterback with Bill Belichick, it's just the dynasty continues.
Right.
I think.
I mean, he's already 23-5 as a starter for San Francisco. So,
Right.
I mean,
Well, the New England doesn't have that kind of defense. They
they
allowed
were-
the least fewest points in the league this year.
yeah, they were top defense in the league. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. No, they don't ever have a good defense at all.
Yeah, so that's I agree completely. I think Bill Belichick probably regrets that, and
Yeah, I mean, because I think it's like torn right now. I think Belichick wanted to keep Garoppolo, but I think Robert Kraft wanted to keep Brady because Brady's been there for so long, and he wants to give him special treatment. Like you've done so much for this franchise and everything, bringing 6 Super Bowls to us, and
and becoming the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
oh yeah, without question.
So,
But I will see because Robert Kraft has made it known that he doesn't want Tom Brady to be in another uniform next year. He either wants him to stay with New England or retire. And I don't think Brady's done playing.
yeah, I don't think he's done either. And I love Tom Brady, and like I said, I think he's the GOAT. But this year was the first year that I was worried about Tom Brady. I mean, everyone has slumps and down years and everything, but I'm saying from watching him play, balls didn't have the zip on it. He wasn't placing them well. It did not look like old Tom Brady. And that being said, at the beginning of the playoffs, I said, oh yeah, Tom Brady will probably win another Super Bowl because that's what the Patriots do.
Well, the way they started out, it's like, oh, geez, just give the Patriots the trophy.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think he's starting to get to the point where Peyton Manning was, where like he just didn't have enough on it anymore, and you got to wonder if has he only got like 1 year? Has he got 2 years? I'd say 2 years max.
Max. I think he's going to play one more, kind of a redemption year to see if he can still do it, and then if he can't, he's going to retire.
You think he's going to be with New England next year?
I do.
You do?
Mm-hmm. I think Robert Kraft is going to pay him, and I mean Brady throughout his whole career has taken not necessarily pay cuts, but redone his contract so that there would be more money in the cap to be able to bring in different talent. I think if Brady says, "Hey, I want to get paid one more year," Kraft will do whatever he has. I mean, he got Kraft 6 Super Bowl rings.
Right. Well, and Brady had been taking pay cuts too, just because he wanted to add more pieces around him.
Right.
Just to, keep the dynasty going, But, yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. I mean, there's only two places I could see him playing. That's for, New England or, possibly the Chargers because Phillip Rivers has got his contracts up this year. So God only knows if the Chargers are going to want to keep him or if they're going to want to try and go after Brady. But
I don't realistically. I don't think any team should sign Brady. I think he is past his prime. What's he? 40, 43?
I think he'll be 43 when this new league starts.
I think that's just too old to start.
Yeah,
That's not even a rebuilding. That's a very, very large Band-Aid.
Yeah, it's not like when Kurt Warner went to the Cardinals and everything. Like he still had a couple years left in him. Whereas Brady, he'll be 43. Like it just isn't showing the dominance of before.
Right. And so you got Tom Brady, one of the greatest to play the game, and at the end of his career. And you also have Lamar Jackson in the league, who this year, well, let's rephrase.
Just absolute stud.
Yeah, but 2 years ago, it was the Patrick Mahomes show. Everyone was talking about Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And then people were calling Lamar Jackson a running back and just, kind of bashing him for that. He can't play like that. That's not how you play football. You're not going to be able to maintain it. And what does he do? Comes out and proves everybody in the world, except for maybe Baltimore fans, wrong. And it was no longer Patrick Mahomes this and Patty Mahomes that. It was the Lamar Jackson show throughout most of the regular season.
God, that's going to be such a great, for years to come, Kansas City and Baltimore and everything. I was so bummed that we didn't get to see it this year. It's like last year when, everybody wanted to see Kansas City. I almost said St. Louis.
And Rams. Yep.
Everybody wanted to see the rematch between Kansas City and, the Rams, because that was such an amazing Monday Night Football game. What was there, like?
It was 50. It was the first time in NFL history that a team scored 50 points and lost the game.
Right. Both teams scored 50 points. You know, you're
It was-
unbelievable.
that
Like
was-
1,200 yards of total offense. It's just unreal.
That was the most fun football game I've ever watched.
I went to bed at halftime, unfortunately.
That's really
I-
unfortunate.
You know, the game was pretty close and everything, and I was getting pretty tired. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to bed. Like, it's
I was
probably not going to be.
I was sick as a dog, and I was just drinking energy drinks to stay up because I thought I was gonna die, and I'm glad I did.
I woke up the next morning and I saw the score. I'm like, what in the hell happened?
Yeah. So, but yeah. So anyway, so we got Lamar Jackson. Everyone just assumed he's going to just burn his way through the playoffs and win a Super Bowl. I mean, I don't think anybody would have bet against that at the beginning of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
But he ran into the Titans, and what happened?
And Derrick Henry.
And Derrick
Henry happened.
Yeah. And so I pulled some stats on Lamar Jackson. In the regular season, he was fantastic. He was remarkable. But against the Titans, he went 31 for 59, which is 52.5%, 365 yards, but also he only had one touchdown, one interception, and one fumble. That's a 63.2% passer rating. That was by far his worst game of this season. And what stands out to me was the 59 attempts. So I look back, and that's 16 more than his second highest week.
Right.
So what that tells me is that they should have leaned more heavy on the run and not rely on Lamar Jackson's passing to win them a game, because I think he's good. I think he's good with his legs and making plays happen more than his arm. And I think that's where Patrick Mahomes has Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes has a cannon on him, and he can fit those throws in.
Mm-hmm. You know, just doing those no-look passes, you know.
Yeah, no look, switch over to the left hand, throw it.
But, you know, him throwing 350 yards, you know, that has to do with, because they were down 24-6 at one point.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's probably why his stats are a little bit skewed on that aspect. But, you know, he also ran for 140 yards. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, he did his part, but 52% completion pass percentage is very, very low.
Yeah.
For if you're trying to make it into the AFC Championship game.
Right. You know, the elite quarterbacks, they usually have it, you know, right around 65-70% completion rating. You know, Drew Brees, I think he's right around 80%. So, I mean, that's just out of this world good. So, I don't know if they necessarily figured Lamar Jackson out. I think a little bit of it had to do with, like, Mark Ingram. He only had 22 yards on the ground, where he was all season just that great compliment to, you know, Lamar Jackson. Big trust. Woo,
Big
woo.
trust. Woo, woo. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. This was also, mind you, he's a second-year quarterback in the biggest game of his life. And no matter how much he seems to hold his composure, that none of us know what that feels like.
Well, right.
And, you know, he could have maybe just had a little bit of an off game. I mean, an interception and a fumble in the same game, that is not like
it's
Lamar
uncommon.
Jackson.
Very uncommon.
So,
But, I mean, 300 and some yards passing and 140 yards rushing, if that's an off day, I'll take that all day.
yes, absolutely. So, all right, MVP projections. Now that we're talking about, you know, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees.
We talking like regular season here?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's Lamar Jackson. How can it not be Lamar Jackson? I mean, he threw for, you know, a respectable 3,100 yards, 36 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. Oh, and he also ran for 1,200 yards, breaking Michael Vick's old record, and another 7 rushing touchdowns. So those are video game numbers right there.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think it's not even a question. It's Lamar Jackson, and anyone that disagrees with that, I think, is a fool.
I think that at one point there was, you know, between him and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was having, you know, a fantastic season. I think he only had 1 interception through the first 10 games. But then Seattle just seemed to like kind of fall apart towards the end there.
Yeah.
Where they were able to stop Russell Wilson. So
And Lamar Jackson wasn't on anyone's radar, so he had to build up that clout in order to get into that conversation. Like next year, Lamar Jackson will start kind of where Russell Wilson started this year with
Top 5 candidate.
yes, no matter what. If you would have asked anyone at the beginning of this season, where would you put Lamar Jackson on the MVP
20th
scale? 30th.
Not anywhere near the top 10.
Right. So I think that's actually a big part of it.
Right.
So, all right, and this is an intriguing question. Niners win the Super Bowl. Who's the MVP? Super Bowl MVP?
Depends on how Patrick Mahomes does. If he throws for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to be the Super Bowl MVP if the Chiefs win.
Oh, yeah.
That's no doubt. But if the Niners win, they don't have that absolute dominant, this is the player all the time like the Chiefs do with Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly. I mean, Morstead, I guess, maybe?
See, and I was thinking, what about Bosa? What if Bosa just constantly puts pressure on Patrick Mahomes and holds him to, a pedestrian for him, 200 yards passing, 1 touchdown and, 2 interceptions.
Right.
That might, so I actually agree with you. And even with the Niners, it depends on how Patrick Mahomes does. If the Niners win because of an outstanding defensive effort and Bosa's the one leading that, him for candidacy for that.
Well, it could be like in Super Bowl 35 with Ray Lewis, where his stat line on ESPN was led a dominant Ravens defense. Like, what kind of a stat line is that?
Accurate.
But I don't know. There really hasn't been that many defensive players that have won the award, right?
No, yeah. So the actual MVPs, Super Bowl MVP by position, are 29 quarterbacks, 7 wide receivers, 7 running backs, 4 linebackers, 2 defensive ends, 2 safeties, a kick returner, and a cornerback. So obviously dominated by quarterbacks, but defensive ends and linebackers and safeties, they make up a small part of it, but it can happen.
Right. Well, and like I said, if the Niners win and Patrick Mahomes does well, like, he wouldn't be the first one that's won the Super Bowl MVP on a losing team.
Yeah, that's true.
Linebacker Chuck Howley of Dallas won one back in Super Bowl 5. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery. So, I'm not saying that he will win it if the Niners win, but it's possible.
It could happen.
Definitely possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So the One Point Safety Podcast is sponsored by Joeltech. Joeltech is a technology consulting firm specializing in small business and school district technology. From networking and server installation to maintenance and computer upgrades, they have you covered. Simply put, Joeltech gets IT done. Visit Joeltech, JOLETEC.com to learn more. One Point Safety Podcast is also brought to you by Bionicle Gin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Homemade. All right, welcome back. So we are going to shift gears a little bit and move into a different sport, which is the UFC. So Conor McGregor, as everyone in the sports world knows, unless you've been living under a rock, has came back to the UFC and beat Cowboy Cerrone and in 40 seconds, which was a massive, not upset, but a really solid victory for him.
It was impressive.
It was impressive. He landed, I don't have the stats in front of me, but he landed something like 23 punches in that 43 seconds compared to Cerrone landing 0. It was a complete domination. In what everyone in the UFC world, it seems like, is saying is, okay, when's his rematch with Khabib, who beat him and kind of sent him on his way out of the UFC for a few years? When's that rematch? And I think everyone needs to just slow down.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
The Cowboy, he is a little past his prime in my.
He's 36 years old. I mean, that's towards the end of the shelf life for an MMA fighter.
Right. McGregor's 22-4. Cowboy is 36-14. So I think it's a fair fight, and I think it was a good fight to get him back into everything. But Khabib is 28-0, and in my opinion, right now, a better fighter with a better ground game than McGregor, who I think McGregor should go and fight as a rematch with Nate Diaz.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Like, get the warm-up fights going,
right?
Because this is his first match in almost 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, you beat up like you said, you beat up a 36-year-old guy. Like that's great, and it's great that you won. And trust me, Dana White is very, very happy that you won. But now it's time to get a little bit better of a fighter. Maybe do 1 or 2, more warm-ups, and then when you get into the rink with Khabib, there is so much emotion and tension there. You got to be prepared.
Yeah, I don't think he should fight Khabib right away. I think he should just keep doing what he's doing, keep his his mind focused, and just, all right, we're gonna go on to the next fight, and hopefully he doesn't want to go back to doing the boxing thing, like maybe a rematch between him and Mayweather.
Yeah, even though the money is there. And quick side note, I mean, Mayweather is. Do you think Mayweather's the greatest boxer of all time? I think he's 50-0.
Yeah, I do. I do. But, I was just so disappointed with him and Pacquiao, that fight, the fight of the century and everything. Mm-hmm. We watched it together. We were just so excited for that. And then it was just such a big letdown, because it was like, all right, well, Mayweather's like, well, I've already got a little bit of a cushion, I feel like that. So I'm just going to keep playing defense or whatever. I'm not going to really go out of my way to try and like knock this guy out. And
mm-hmm.
But I do think he is the best fighter of all time.
Yeah. And speaking of the best and your position or what you play, Derek Jeter in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. How did he not get voted unanimously into the Hall of Fame? 1 vote shy. Like, come on. Mariano Rivera was the only other one. I think that was last year that he got in unanimously.
Totally worth it. I
mean,
he deserved it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Like Derek Jeter and Ken Griffey Jr. should have been a unanimous one.
Yeah.
But from what I've read on Hall of Fame voting, I think it's just stupid. You're only allowed 10 votes. 10 votes. That's it. So, there could be like 20 people on the ballot. You're only allowed to vote for 10 of them. It's like, why can't I just vote for who I think deserves to get into the Hall of Fame? Because, like Tim Kirchin said, there are some, because it's mainly just baseball writers
mm-hmm.
that is on the Hall of Fame voting. Some of them will be like, well, I already know that, like, Ken Griffey Jr., he's going to be first ballot Hall of Famer.
Right.
So I'm going to take my vote that, to somebody else that's maybe on the last year of the ballot. But it's like, I get that, but why can't you just have as many votes as you want, vote for whoever you want?
Right. Vote for who you think is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Why are we putting stipulations on it?
Vote for who you think is truly deserving of being in there.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a travesty. Maybe not a travesty, but I think it's baloney that he didn't get unanimously voted in. And to be fair, who knows if Derek Jeter, from everything I've read about him and seen, he doesn't care. He's happy he's in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it. He was, the best at his position. He was an amazing person to watch. And off the field, he was a stand-up guy.
Mm-hmm.
Never in the media, never drama.
Not like Alex Rodriguez, who was constantly in the media.
Right. Yep. Yes, he was always in it. So, yeah. I completely agree. Derek Jeter should have been unanimously voted in. However, I do think that Ken Griffey Jr. should have been the first baseball player to be unanimously voted in.
Yeah.
And I know when he wasn't, there was 3 writers that were not, that didn't vote for him. But
437 out of a possible 440.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but now the veil has been pierced with Mariano Rivera. He was unanimously voted in. What are they holding back now? It's happened now. Mm-hmm. Derek Jeter, possibly the greatest shortstop of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I mean,
just give it to him.
I mean, freaking 310 average, 3,000 hits, 5 World Series, 5 Gold Gloves, 14 All-Star games. Probably one of the best postseason players of all time. 308 average, MLB record for 200 hits and 111 runs scored during the postseason.
That's obnoxious.
And probably has one of the most iconic plays of all time in the postseason. The flip to the catcher, to get the out at the end of the game. I could go on and on about Derek Jeter.
Right. Yeah, so to be interesting in future Hall of Fame votes to see, if this trend keeps happening. But I thought for sure Derek Jeter was going to be unanimous.
Right. So, I mean, you want to talk about Hall of Fame, we're going to kind of switch it up a little bit here. Eli Manning just retired this week.
Right.
You think he's a Hall of Famer?
Eli Manning, I think he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's got 2 Super Bowl MVPs on his shelf. He won 2 Super Bowls. He also was the MVP for both those Super Bowls. There's only one player ever to win, one quarterback ever to win 2 Super Bowls and not be in the Hall of Fame, and that's Jim Plunkett. And he has 1 MVP, and he's still not.
I don't know how he's not even in there.
Yeah, but Eli Manning, I think he should be in. I think he gets a bad rap, and I've never been a huge fan of his, but I think he gets in. He had great defenses when they won that. When they won those 2 Super Bowls, and 2 miraculous catches from Tyree and from Mario
Manningham, yeah,
to make that possible. But he did just enough to win a Super Bowl, and he won 2, and he got 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think you got to put him in. My bigger question to you is, knowing now how both their careers played out, who would you rather have, Phillip Rivers or Eli Manning? And for those that didn't know, Eli Manning was actually drafted by the Chargers.
Yeah, he was supposed to go to San Diego.
Yeah, he was drafted by him, and he was going to play there. And Archie Manning, Peyton and Eli's dad, said, my son isn't playing in San Diego. He's going to be in New York because it was a bigger market, and had to and started this whole thing. And that's how Phillip Rivers ended up Eli Manning.
I know that he
in San Diego.
He didn't want to play for San Diego, but I never really heard the story of why he didn't want to play in San Diego.
Yeah, it's not as big of a market. They didn't think that they had
It's true, but
it is true. And so Phillip Rivers went to San Diego. It was this crazy trade, 20 years ago. And
going back to the question, I would probably have to take Phillip Rivers because, I mean, look at Eli's stats. 117 wins, 117 losses. Touchdown ratio of 1.5, one and a half touchdowns per interception.
Not good.
You look at the top guys, which one of these really surprised me. Drew Brees, a little bit more than 2 touchdowns per interception. Peyton Manning, 2.1. Tom Brady, 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns to 1 interception.
Wow.
But then, you've also got Eli Manning, where he's 7th all-time on the touchdown list. But, of course, he's going to be going backwards here in a little bit because Aaron Rodgers and Big Ben are only 3 touchdowns behind him. So, Matt Ryan, only, 40 behind, so he'll get that another 2-3 years. But, I mean...
And Phillip Rivers, his touchdown to interception ratio is 397, nearly 400 to 198. So he's got a 2. I mean,
not much better,
but significant enough that I think I would agree. I think I would take Phillip Rivers over Eli Manning. I think that Eli Manning just had the benefit of being in a bigger market and them attracting better talent.
Mm-hmm. And having a great defense behind him.
Yeah, for a very, very long time. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sticking with football right now, have you heard about the new kickoff rule that they want to implement?
They're talking about the onside kick one?
Yeah. So basically, every year it seems like that the NFL kind of makes changes to the rules a little bit. They want to, try and kind of like almost spice it up a little bit. Last year it was the pass interference penalty, that we got to challenge pass interference, which
courtesy of the Rams New Orleans game.
I think that rule change was so stupid because they hardly ever made any changes to the pass interference, and it's like, why are we doing this? Are we just doing this to appease the New Orleans fans that feel like they got screwed? But that's a different topic for a different day.
Yep.
And then there's also the overtime rules. Now both teams have a chance at it unless the first team scores a touchdown.
Which let's stop here for a second and discuss this. I think that's complete bullshit. I think if the first team goes down and scores a touchdown, the other team should get the ball and score and be able to score a touchdown also.
Agreed.
I don't understand how this is a rule in 2020 that, hey, we're going to flip a coin. You're telling me if they flip a coin in the Super Bowl and Patrick Mahomes gets the ball.
San Francisco won't have a chance.
No, they won't. They will not have a chance in hell.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we letting a coin flip decide that big of an advantage?
That happened last year in the AFC Championship game where New England won the toss. They got the ball first, and Patrick Mahomes never even got to see the field. Like, I agree. Like, how are we not, during the regular season, that's one thing. It's a regular season. But during the playoffs or whatever, both teams should at least have the opportunity, whether the first team scores a touchdown or not.
And the postseason is plagued with these kind of results. Do you remember Brett Favre in Minnesota?
Oh, yeah. Minnesota, New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Everyone, I mean, that was a big deal because a lot of people didn't know that this rule was. They were like, oh no, the other team gets the ball and go down and score to win. No,
Nope.
That is not right. Also, maybe in 2009, 2010, Tim Tebow, and everyone has their own opinion on Tim Tebow, but they got the ball. His first play in the playoffs or in overtime, 99-yard touchdown pass, and the other team doesn't even get a chance. I don't understand how that's still going on. So anyway, so the new proposed possibly onside kick.
So here's what the new rule is going to look like. And if I forgot to mention, they're going to try this out during the Pro Bowl, which is actually on today. So here's what the rule is going to look like. After a successful field goal or extra point try attempt, the scoring team will have options with no kickoff. The scoring team, Team A, will have the following options. Team A may elect to give Team B the ball at Team B's 25-yard line, beginning a new series of downs with a 1st and 10.
So like a touchback.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Or option 2, Team A may elect to take the ball at its own 25-yard line for essentially a 4th and 15 play. Have one play, get 15 yards. If it's successful in making that first down, Team A will maintain possession, and a new series of downs will continue as normal. So essentially like an onside kick, but they've got one play to either run it or pass it. If Team A is unsuccessful in making a first down, the result will be a turnover on downs, and Team B will take possession at the dead ball spot.
Jeez. So deep in their own territory.
Yeah.
I
like it.
Yeah, I think it's intriguing, and I'm curious to see how it plays out at the Pro Bowl. My gut feeling right away is it feels like the good teams will just be doing better because they can just keep scoring and keep getting the ball if they want.
Well, like Baltimore this past year, I think Harbaugh ended up hiring like an analytics guy, and 4th down, like I think they had one of the most 4th down conversions in the entire league.
Yeah.
So what's to say like, oh well, we're up by 10 points. Yeah, why don't we try a 4th and 15 play with Lamar Jackson? Probably
Right.
Regular season MVP here. Like, try it.
Yep.
But
absolutely.
I kind of like it due to the fact that kickoffs are so boring now. Like but they made so many changes to the kickoff rules or whatever, where most of the time they just kick it right into the back of the end zone and it's done. Boom.
Right. Yep.
So I think it's going to kind of maybe not speed up the game a little bit, but and the NFL is saying, well, this is to for player safety and everything. It's like, well, not really. I mean, if teams are going for 4th and 15s a lot, then it's not you're not really doing anything
right.
here.
It's just extra plays.
Yeah.
So,
but,
yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It probably won't be implemented because the NFL doesn't like to change things like this too quickly.
Right. Yeah, I think this might be like a few years down the road where it will. But
Right.
I think it's more interesting than an onside kick because I think there was only 10% of onside kicks were actually successfully.
Yeah.
And
4th and 15s, that number would be grossly higher.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's interesting. Something to look for in the Pro Bowl. I'm excited to see what it looks like. Moving, kind of finishing up back on the Super Bowl. I think an intriguing part that we didn't talk about is the tight ends in this Super Bowl. Two of the two best tight ends in the league this year are in the Super Bowl, which I guess we could debate if maybe you just need to have a hell of a good tight end, and then you make the Super Bowl. Here's the regular season stats for Kittle and Kelce. Yards per game, Kelce, 77. Kittle, 75. Targets a game, Kelce, 8.5. Kittle, 7.5. Receptions per game, both at 6. Receiving yards, Kelce has 200 yards more, but also Kittle played 2 games less. And they both have the same amount of receiving yards. Talk about almost an identical stat line.
Right.
And these guys, they can ball.
I mean, all I can think of for, Kittle is that game against New Orleans where, Garoppolo threw it to him and he just, had 3 guys on him. He's just like throwing them off or whatever, and he still managed to. He had like a face mask call. Just kept going. He's like, I don't care. I'm getting down as far as I can go.
Yeah, he's a beast. He's also a really good blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm.
So even when Jimmy G is only throwing it eight times a game, he has to be still protected, or the run needs to be. There has to be good run block too.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing his job on with both passing and rushing. Now, Kelce, he's been a force for years. Who do you think who would you rather have on your team?
I don't know. It's like you said with the stats and everything. Like they're just so close and everything. I feel like Kittle is a lot like a Gronk type of player, where he's just that I'm gonna punch you in the mouth, like I'm gonna get my yards and everything. Whereas I feel like Kittle is like Tony Gonzalez, where he's a great route runner, he's a great blocking tight end. Both of them are Hall of Famers.
Right.
So if I had to pick right now, I'd say
The tale of two Ks.
I'd probably say Kittle, because I think he's only like a couple years younger than him. If I'm starting a team up with, I'll go for a little bit younger rather than.
Yeah, and I would take Kelce because he's reliable. Kittle's had a good year, but Kelce's had a good career,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a favorite target for Patrick Mahomes. And he's a monster when he gets the ball. Kittle has the plays where he's dragging people, and that's great. But do you remember Vance McDonald for Pittsburgh?
Oh yeah,
he had a couple of those.
Yeah.
But then he stopped having those plays, and he turned into just a pedestrian tight end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we might be a little bit too. Wow, Kittle had these cool plays, and now he's a monster tight end. He had the stats this year, and he should be up there in the discussion. But I would take Kelce.
Didn't Kelce have 3 touchdowns in that game against Houston, where they
they
clawed back?
Yeah,
I think
this was regular season stats where they each had 5. But postseason he's been just an absolute.
It's like, how do you block that guy?
Yeah.
Like,
little side note,
just no way.
Little side note, a tight end has actually never won a Super Bowl MVP, and I think if the Niners win and they have, Kittle gets 2 touchdowns in 90 yards, maybe
could be it,
we could
yeah.
be seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, we could be, which would be awesome, and I think he would. I think he would.
He would deserve it. Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's it's gonna be good. So, all right, well, who do you got? Super Bowl live.
Are we doing our standard $5 wager on this one?
Standard $5 wager. You can do sports gambling now. So
heck yeah, in the state of Michigan.
Woot woot.
Who do I got?
Straight up, no line.
No line.
I think the last time I looked, the Chiefs were in Vegas, the line of 1.5.
Yeah.
So it's basically a coin flip.
I'm gonna go with Kansas City. I just think that that offense with Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill is fast as lightning. Travis Kelce, one of the best tight ends in the league, if not the best. And they really haven't had to rely on their run game at all either, which, they had Kareem Hunt last year, and now he's not there anymore. It's like they haven't even missed a beat. So I'm going to have to go with Kansas City on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like I said at the beginning of the show, you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. He's got the arm strength, he's got the accuracy, he's got the mobility, and he's got that generational talent that you just can't. You don't know what he's going to do. And then, like you said, he's got Tyreek Hill, someone we haven't really even talked about. the fastest guy on the football field.
Mm-hmm.
And mix that with one of the best tight ends in the league. There's just, I think Kansas City's going to win, and I think it's going to be handily.
You think handily?
Yeah, I do. I think they win by 10, or more.
Man,
so
I think Kansas City's got, I don't think they're going to win handily. I think it's going to be like 3-4 point win. I don't think it's going to be handily. But something to watch here, with San Francisco, they've been winning it on the ground with Morstead. They haven't had to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball.
And they're going to have to, I think.
And Kansas City actually doesn't have a terrible run defense as everybody kind of thought that they did.
Right.
I think so. If they can just stop the run game and force Jimmy Garoppolo to pass the ball, I mean, yeah, I don't think Garoppolo's going to outduel Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no way. No way. So, so you got the Chiefs in a close one. I think it's going to be a little bit more of, not a blowout, but a little bit more easy. So, all right, well, everyone, hope you enjoyed and have a great Super Bowl from everyone here at the 1 Point Safety Podcast. And thanks to our sponsors, Joeltech and Bionicle Gin. We're out of here.
We're out of here.
I mean, before we go, so who wins the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship?
Gonzaga.
Who is the best American Olympian ever?
Michael Phelps.
Who is the best NHL player of all time?
Steve Yzerman.
Could you send back 1 out of 10 serves from Serena Williams?
God, no. I'm just being honest here.
What city are the Raiders located in?
Currently? Las Vegas now. They just did it like 2 days ago.
All right, we're out of here.
All right, thanks, guys.